Dominion, the final film of the Jurassic World trilogy. Released in the summer of 2022, the picture became a box office juggernaut worldwide. However, the difference in opinions between critics and audiences could not have been any clearer, with many people saying they absolutely love it, while some others have expressed a strong hatred. But with the movie being out for a long period of time now, we have to ask ourselves the question, is it good or is it bad? And with more installments confirmed for the future, we need to know if the franchise, as well as the fan base, will be in good hands. Hello everybody, you've all been waiting for this one long enough. Today, I am giving my 2 cents on, well, you read the title, Jurassic World Dominion. But before I share my thoughts, I need to address my relationship with this movie. As you all know, I'm not only a massive dinosaur geek, but I've been a Jurassic Park fan for about a decade now. So during the 4-year wait between this movie and the last one, I was absolutely pumped. However, unlike that previous movie, I avoided everything involving it prior to release. I didn't watch any clips or trailers, I didn't keep up with announcements, leaks, or speculation. Heck, if I would simply see an ad pop up somewhere, I'd cover my eyes and ears, not wanting a single thing spoiled for me. After lots of anticipation, June 10th, of course, finally came, with me and my family buying our tickets at our local AMC theater. I sat my butt into a seat, and when that movie started playing, my excitement at first was uncontrollable, but eventually as the film went on, my smile slowly but surely started to sink. And I came out of the experience feeling empty, confused, unsure on how to feel, and it took a while for it all to sink in. So I took what I could, slapped on a smile, and pretended to love it. But I still had some bit of fun with the film by eating up the post-release hype as much as possible, since Lord knows I didn't before the film came out, and once it's gone, it ain't coming back. About a month later, I started becoming way more interested in other paleo media and real-life dinosaur discoveries again, all while drifting away from the Jurassic franchise, but I did get back into it eventually. And after lots of time brewing and stirring around in the back of my head, I've collected and organized all my thoughts and come to a conclusion. So, do I like Jurassic World Dominion? No.
Hot crowd, hot crowd.
Now, before you all start screaming in the comments, allow me to give you some perspective. Fallen Kingdom ended with the dinosaurs escaping out onto the mainland, meaning we are truly in a Jurassic world now. We can't just run away from our problems anymore. We now have to face the ramifications of our actions. This is what Malcolm had warned us about. This is what Crichton had envisioned from the start. And now, at long last, it's happening. We finally made it. How we got here was questionable in retrospect, but we made it nonetheless. The potential for complex themes and ideas to explore seems endless. This is where it's all been leading to, where you either go big or go home. So, how did this movie handle it? Here's a brief plot synopsis. 4 years after the events of Fallen Kingdom, Maisie has been abducted by Biosyn, who've also released an army of genetically engineered locusts to kill off crops so they can control the world's food supply. So it's up to our heroes and the classic 93 cast to team up, rescue Maisie, and stop Biosyn. You notice something absent from that description? Something kinda important? Yeah, Thomas isn't mentioned. Wait, wrong movie. Yeah, dinosaurs aren't mentioned in it. The invading dinosaurs are not the main conflict the movie wants to tackle. That role has instead been given to these locusts. I mean, they could have been an interesting idea if used correctly, and it's not the worst direction this series could have taken, but they come right out of nowhere, take up way too much time, the threat they pose is not felt, and most importantly, why would you take a movie where dinosaurs are all over the globe, the final movie in a multi-million-dollar franchise I might add, or at least that's what we believed it to be, and make it about random oversized insects? Like, what? And the movie treats this as the doom and gloom we should really be worried about, when most people couldn't care less. The locusts' inclusion isn't the real problem, though. Oh no. The fact that this movie isn't a Planet of the Dinosaurs story is by far the biggest offense. The dinos have become nothing more than an obstacle for the characters to deal with. Heck, the majority of the time they're not even interacting with human civilization, instead contained to this isolated valley. Despite being previously promised something brand new, the film retreats back to whatever is safe and easy for it. So most of this build-up and setup was ultimately for jack squat. To the film's credit, we are shown quite a few captivating scenarios with the dinosaurs in our world, like the Mosasaurus attacking a fishing boat, illegal breeding facilities, poachers hunting for the animals, compies eating babies, wait, that didn't happen, Owen rescuing a Parasaurolophus the Valley of Guanji style, Apatosauruses being herded out from a lumber mill, Blue hunting with her new child Beta, etc. This is the stuff we kinda came here for. The film is actually pretty alright at the start, far from perfect, but genuinely really solid. Then the locusts and Biosyn show up and it's all downhill from there. But what about the characters? Well, Blue and Owen barely interact in this, Claire gets some nice moments to be a badass looking for her daughter, and thank you filmmakers for bothering to keep these two in a relationship this time. They're actually quite sweet together. Now, I am not one of those sick individuals who wishes death upon Maisie for releasing the dinosaurs out of sympathy at a young age, but she should feel some sort of regret for doing it here, instead of being an angsty teen. Oh, I haven't even mentioned the cloning retcon yet. Now with Charlotte apparently cloning herself instead of Benjamin Lockwood doing it? Excuse me, what?
Wait a second, hold on. Where is it? Aha! It is my son! My own clone!
You can't do that, movie. You can't throw in this controversial curveball only to ditch it in favor of something more complicated and off-brand. The first time I saw this, I was like, oh no, it's just Rise of Skywalker all over again. One of the main selling points of this film is the return of the original cast, and my thoughts on them are mixed. It's great seeing Ian Malcolm in a larger role again, even though he's constantly being one-upped, and it's nice to know that they finally amended Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler's relationship. But at the same time, I feel like more could have been done with them, or at least with Dr. Grant. Still great inclusions either way.
It says here that the T-Rex had a tiny brain.
Well, it turns out that,
Ramsey is a decent enough character. Kayla Watts is actually quite a bit of fun, probably the best one here. And that leads us with Dodgson.
Dodgson! Dodgson! We've got Dodgson here! See, nobody cares.
Yeah, I'm mixed on this guy too. Finally, he and Biosyn have been fully explored. I do like his sort of social awkwardness, even though it really isn't the Dodgson we know. But his motivations are, to put it short, confusing. Like, is he trying to help Wu fix the problem or no? I think the actors are all doing a fine job, they just weren't given the best to work with. But now we come to the scene stealers, the dinosaurs. Right away, I have to mention, there are just way too many prehistoric creatures in this movie, which was something I was actually quite worried about before seeing it, because when you have so many animals competing for the spotlight, barely anything manages to get enough focus. Case in point, the Mosasaurus. Now, many of the new ones are exciting additions to the franchise, but some easily could have just been replaced by older creatures, swapping out their roles for the sake of completion. The lack of Spinosaurus, man. The lack of Spinosaurus hurt me.
Let me in! Let me in!
As you could expect, the film is constantly throwing flashy dinosaurs at you, but it all screams hollow because they're not the main subject. Some of the most entertaining parts of the film are simply of the characters interacting, but they keep getting cut short by all these pointless action scenes. Now, I will admit, some of the intense action bits can be pretty well executed, like the Therizinosaurus stalking Claire, but it's just too much. Let a man breathe. When the Dilophosauruses showed up, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, it's the creature we haven't seen in decades, but rather, oh, right, we're doing this now. Okay. Because I was so numb and exhausted from all of it. Even the final battle feels unnecessary and underwhelming. Dang, this poor Giga, I tell ya. Not only is the whole big bad dino cliche so overdone at this point, but the Joker straight up did nothing wrong. There was no reason to kill it. But I guess it just wants to watch the world burn.
Allosaurus had never seen such bullshit before.
At the very least, the Malta sequence is definitely a highlight, as it explores the paleo black market and how the world has gone about treating these creatures. Basically what we kinda wanted to see. I appreciate the moments where the dinosaurs are treated like animals and not like action heroes or monsters, such as Blue acting aggressive, a herbivore being the territorial and dangerous one for once, two apex predators fighting over a carcass but not battling to the death, though that's later contradicted. I also respect the creators' attempts to incorporate more scientific accuracy, even though they don't follow through on it. I feel it's about time I'd finally go over the extended cut, as it's something I'm very thankful for. Not only does it make the film much better, for a variety of reasons, but I wish more movies could receive the same treatment. The prologue especially would have been perfect to include in the theatrical cut. Obvious inaccuracies aside, the Cretaceous opening and T-Rex attack on the drive-in were exactly how the film should have started off. But of course, Universal just had to remove it. Plot armor isn't a term I like using, as it's often used as lazy talk when people don't want to think about how a character would actually survive something. But man, is it prevalent here. There's no hook, no tension, no reason to be invested because you just know in the back of your head that all these characters are gonna get out unscathed simply because the plot demands it. They also clearly doubled down on the whole "you can't kill off the good guys" thing, which is such BS. The movie is constantly jumping from location to location, shifting tones as it goes along. Creatures, characters, and entire plot lines get forgotten about, and it certainly didn't sit right with me the first time. The movie is constantly explaining everything too, as if the audience doesn't remember Fallen Kingdom. The contrivances and conveniences are way too many to count. The sometimes cheesy dialogue, and especially the constant callbacks and nods to previous films, are just too dang excessive and distracting. Oh, remember this, guys? Remember this? Some of the editing is a mess. The laws of physics and the theme of "you cannot control nature" have been almost completely thrown out the window, other than this excellent line. The CGI, however, is among the best we've ever had, to the point where I was questioning what was and wasn't practical. Speaking of which, I'm glad to see so many animatronics being utilized. Too bad they're very puppet-like, with their movements being super stiff, especially the Dilo. I never would have thought Kermit the Rex would actually be a thing, but here we are. The sound design ranges from utterly terrifying to whatever this is. And lastly, Giacchino's score for this is awesome. Wow, shocker, am I right? There are plenty of other little things that don't make sense, other details I do appreciate, but I can't be here talking forever. In the end though, the movie feels so inconsequential, little to nothing is different from where it started, and the film ends with humanity and dinosaurs coexisting? no. Like, it's very sweet, but no. You do understand how much damage these things will cause to ecosystems and society, right? And now, what was the whole threat of their invasion in the first place then? I assume this was done because they weren't allowed to have the dinosaurs go extinct or something? I don't know. Even with some redeeming elements, I can't help but feel that so much potential here was squandered, and for a so-called finale, it lacks a true sense of closure. Apparently, Colin Trevorrow didn't write this with the mindset of it being the last movie. However, it rains upon deaf ears because that's not how it was described to us. This isn't Endgame, this isn't Cars 3, this isn't even Secret of the Tomb. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. It tried to do so much, but ended up doing pretty much nothing. While I could never bring myself to actively dislike this movie, I'll never forget how let down I was with it. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Part of the journey is the end, and when that end doesn't feel rewarding, sometimes the whole journey feels wasted. And several of the decisions made here are just baffling. Top Gun Maverick and Spider-Man No Way Home were both far more satisfying experiences, and what I originally thought was going to be a highlight of 2022 just became a minor afterthought. But when looking at the cast and everyone involved behind the scenes, I can tell this was made by people with a passion. They just didn't fully know what they were doing, and corporate meddling and COVID didn't help at all. As of now, Dominion is probably my least favorite of the series, besides maybe JP3. It's not one of the worst movies ever made, and I do think that some of the flack it's gotten is just way too much. And there are some criticisms I don't necessarily get, but I gotta say, it hurts. It hurts looking back at Battle at Big Rock or our predictions, knowing just how oblivious we were at the time, or right on the mark. Keep in mind that everything I'm saying here is all coming straight from me. I'm not just copy-pasting what others have said, and I've given my critiques not to take a dump on the film, but to show that I care. I wanted this movie to be great. I wanted it to be the most beautiful, satisfying thing ever, but this ain't it, Chief. Not to me, anyway. And if you enjoyed Dominion, which I know a lot of you did, that's not a bad thing. The last thing I'd want to do is take away someone else's enjoyment of it. I, in fact, envy you. I wish I could have loved it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna feel peer pressured into sucking it up and accepting all of it, just because of some cool designs and beautiful shots. I'm not gonna lie about how I feel, and how I feel isn't the best. While this series will always hold a special place in my heart, I don't know if I can even get that excited for future releases, as I'm worried the series will become drawn out and oversaturated, but who knows? If the next project turns out to be a banger, then I'll be as happy as a clam. I know this video has taken ages to come out, and has generally been more negative than what you're used to from me. I didn't mean to be a Debbie Downer, I just needed to give my honest opinions. But with that said, there are my thoughts on Jurassic World Dominion, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.